Hi everybody. Today we're going to be doing a couple different activities to help you study for your Conics review. This video is on my YouTube channel, so if you want to review what's on here one more time, you can when you're at home. You should have been given this paper right here, and your job right now is to get ready to take some notes. We're going to be taking notes on the back of this paper where it says, "Who is invited? Circle versus parabola scavenger hunt." So go ahead and turn this paper over. Okay, to get started today, at the top of your notes, so I want you to imagine this is the back of that paper that says who's invited. So on the back of this paper, we're going to be drawing two circles. I'll show you in a second, but I just wanted to show you what the paper is going to look like. We're going to be taking notes down here. We're going to have a Venn diagram, and your title, circle or parabola, that is the question, should go at the top of your paper. So in a moment, I'm going to reveal the two circles, and I'll show you what they should look like, what should be in them. But your job right now is to just write the title. So the title should say circle or parabola. That is the question, and that should be at the top of your paper. Okay, while you finish doing that, I'm going to move some stuff out of the way. So I'm going to move this over, and we're going to get rid of this covering here. Okay, so what I'd like you to take a moment to do is to draw a large Venn diagram. You saw kind of what that should look like in relation to your paper. And we're going to be putting stuff inside the Venn diagram, all this stuff down here. So I'd like you to go ahead and do that, and we can go ahead and write parabola in the circle on the left and circle on the parabola on the right. Now if you need to pause the video, go ahead and raise your hand and the sub can pause the video. But the idea is that you should be kind of filling this in as we go. A lot of this is kind of obvious, so I'm just going to be kind of putting stuff that the parabola and circle equations have in common in this center area, and then things that are specific just to parabolas and circles will be in their own circle. So the first thing I know for sure is that a circle has both an x squared and a y squared. So a circle has both an x squared and a y squared. And that means that for a parabola just has one or the other. Either the x is squared or the y is squared. So that's one of the ways that I can differentiate between a parabola and a circle. If both of the values of the variables are squared, then it's a circle. And if only one of them is squared, then it's a parabola. Now that said, I know that both have an HK, but it means something different for each shape. For example, for a circle, HK is the center. But for a parabola, HK is the vertex. Okay, so if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause. A couple things that are kind of obvious you'll see because I color-coded them. A circle has a radius, and a parabola has a focus and a directrix. So kind of, I know there are actually more things that we could add in here. There's a lot of things that make parabolas and circles different, and there's more than just the fact that they both have an HK that they have in common. But really, for differentiating between circle and parabola equations, this is enough. If you have something else to add, that's great, but if not, no big deal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move our notes down to the last part, which is going to be 4 examples here, and I can see it's all jumbled up. Let me see if I can make this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to ask that you go ahead and pause the video, and underneath your circles, I'd like you to copy down the word example and these 4 here. And then I'd like you to go ahead and try and determine which of these are circles and which are parabolas. When you're ready, unpause the video and I'll talk to you about which are circles and which are parabolas. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so it turns out that 2 of these are parabolas and 2 of these are circles. So let's go ahead, I'm going to change my color here. Okay, so number 1, I notice that the x is squared, but the y is not. So this is a parabola. All right, how about number 2? For number 2, I notice that both the x and the y are squared, so this must be a circle. For number 3, I notice that my x is squared and my y is squared, so this is a circle as well. And this last one has only an x value that's squared. There's no squared out here. My y value is all by itself. So that means that this guy is a parabola. So knowing how to differentiate between a parabola and a circle is really important because both of these conic sections have some kind of big similarities between them, but they graph really differently. And that's what you guys are going to be practicing today in your first activity. Okay, go ahead and turn the paper over, and I'm going to be reading this to you, and then we'll talk about the directions. So here we go. It starts off by saying that Mrs. Martinez, that's me, is hosting 2 parties this weekend, and she's mixed up her guest list. Oh no. She can't tell who she's inviting to her son's 4th birthday party, or who's on the guest list for her spring break barbecue. Luckily, she used a code that's supposed to say so that you can figure it out. Wow, Ms. Martinez is not an English teacher. Okay, just go with it. Look around the room to find all the guests. Parabola equations are going to the barbecue, and circle equations are going to the birthday party. Use the space below to collect all the information needed to separate the guests before Mrs. Martinez sends out her invitations. Put this in the blue folder when you're finished. So let's take a look at what your paper looks like. You have a section here to collect the birthday party guests, and birthday party guests are going to be parabolas or circles. Birthday party guests are circles. So you may want to write circles here. So you're going to collect circles here. Okay, let's move down. And then the bottom section is about barbecue guests. So this is where your parabola equations are going to go. Okay, and there's something you need to find for each one. So let me show you what you're going to be looking for around the room. So if you look around the room, you'll see a couple kind of papers like this around the room. It has a letter, an equation, and then a name. So what you'll do is you'll look at this, you'll write it down where it goes, either in the parabola list or the circle list. Write the person's name down, and then your job is to write certain features down about that parabola. For example, so if it's a parabola, you would have to look at your paper, and after you wrote the guest's name and the equation, you have to tell me which direction it goes, up, down, left, or right, and then you'd have to tell me the vertex, okay? And then if it were a circle, you'd have to tell me the equation, the guest's name, the center, and then the radius. Don't forget to square root the radius. And last but not least, I want to know how many invitations I'll need for each of those. Now, so the most important thing I want you to remember is that your job is to figure out which is a circle, which is a parabola. Now, this activity should take no more than 10 minutes, but because I love you, I'm going to give you 15 minutes, okay? So we're going to pause the video, and 15 minutes later, you should be finished, sitting in your assigned seats, and then we're going to get down to some more challenging stuff. Okay, I'll see you in 15 minutes. Welcome back, guys. Okay, so you are now really good at identifying whether it's a parabola or it's a circle. So now we're going to turn it up. We're going to turn up the volume, and I'm going to make this a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to give each of you one of these papers, and you are responsible for this paper, and it should go into your blue folder, okay? But you're going to be also working with a partner. So let me show you how this is going to work. You're going to be given a bunch of squares. So this is before I cut it up. I'm going to cut them up, and don't think that these go together because obviously they don't. But you're going to be given a bunch of squares that look like this, and they correspond to the worksheet that you have. You and your partner are going to use this grid to kind of match things up because looking at your paper, the worksheet, it's kind of hard to see what goes with what. So I want you to take your time to match each of these together, and then once you've done the math, put it on your worksheet so that you know which go with which. Do not write on these cards. Make sure you return them to the envelopes. And when you're finished matching them up, please take that paper, your original worksheet, and put it in your blue sheet. Now this matchup will be more challenging. There's fractional answers. You might be noticing that the focus here has some decimal answers. This is not an easy matchup, and it's very possible that you will not finish in the time allotted. Remember how this works. What you don't finish becomes your homework. And yeah, so please make sure you do this. Now you've already used 15 minutes for the previous activity, but it was easy. So for this one, I'll give you 25 minutes. Your job is to do your matchup in 25 minutes. Go ahead and pause the video, and when you're finished, we're going to get to your practice test. Good luck, guys. I'll see you in 25 minutes. Hi, everybody. I I hope you had a good time doing your sort. And I think we can all say that now you really can tell the difference between a parabola and a circle. So you've done a lot of review today, and now it's time to see how well you can work alone. Now I'm hoping you have 15 minutes at least left in class so that you can do your homework in class. And what I'd like you to do is when you get home, watch this video, fast forward it to the end, and the answers to this video are, to your practice test are actually at the end of the video. So if for some reason in class you have more than 15 minutes, so you're going to have 15 minutes to work on this practice test alone, when your 15 minutes are up, you can ask the sub to turn the video on and you can go through the answers, okay? Now there's one last thing I have to tell you. I just found it right now. Maybe you see it too. There's a typo right there. Let's fix it. This is supposed to be a y, and that's supposed to be a y. So it says negative 8y. Wow, that's a really ugly y. That's a y. You believe it. That's a y. That's a y. Okay, guys, work on your practice test, and I'll see you guys on the day of your exam. Wait! I found one more mistake. Sorry. Hold on. Okay, turn your paper over. On question 5, I made a mistake too. This is supposed to be a y. I don't know what happened to me. That's supposed to be a y. Sorry. Okay, now I really will see you next week. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go through your practice test now and create a key so that you can check your answers either in class or at home. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom section because I have to match these 4 equations to the circles above. So the first thing I hope you remember is that the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So for example, for this problem, remember the opposite of what I see is what my center is. So my center would be negative 3 comma negative 4, and my radius would be the square root of 9 or 3. For question C, my center point is negative 3 comma 4, positive 4, and my radius is the square root of 9. Again, it's 3. That's an equal sign. Sorry, guys. Question B and D are a little bit more challenging, though, so we're going to have to do some math for those. I'm going to go ahead and move this over a little bit so we have space to do this math. Okay, so for letter B, I have x squared minus 6x plus y squared. Uh-oh, that's a typo. That should say y. Minus 8y equals negative 16. Okay, so let's do what we have to do first. First, we're going to corral the x's. So x squared minus 6x plus y squared minus 8y equals negative 16. Then I'm going to complete the square. So I'm going to grab my b value. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Then I'm going to take my b value for my y. It's a negative 8. So negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. 16. Okay, now I factor the left. So this, I asked myself, what multiplies to 9 and adds to negative 6? That's negative 3 and negative 3. Negative 3 twice. And then next I ask, what multiplies to 16 and adds to negative 8? That's negative 4 twice. Negative 4 twice. And then I'm going to add this together. If you put this in your calculator or if you do the mental math, negative 16 plus 9 plus 16 is 9. So now I'm ready to write my, my center point is the opposite of what I see, 3, 4. And my radius is the square root of 9 again. My radius is 3. All right, our last one, there's a y there that's typoed again. Okay, so let's go ahead and corral our x's. So I have x squared minus 6x. And then I have my y squared plus 8y equals negative 16. So take a look what I'm doing. I took the x's and put them in one set of parentheses. And I took the y's and put them in another. Now when I complete the square here, it's going to be really similar to the math I did here. So this is actually exactly the same. Negative 6 cut in half divided by 2, negative 6 divided by 2 squared is going to be 9. So I'm going to be adding 9 again. But over here, this is a little bit different. So it's going to be 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I still get the same answer, but I want to make sure we have that on there. Okay, so now let's factor. What multiplies to 9 and adds to negative 6? It's still negative 3 and negative 3. So this is x minus 3 squared plus. Next question, what multiplies to positive 16 but adds to negative 8? That's positive 4 and positive 4, 2 positive 4s. And then again, negative 16 plus 9 plus 16 is 9. So here's our circle. It's centered at 3 comma negative 4. And my radius is square root of 9, or 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and match up our stuff. Let me see if I can get, that's how close I can get. Okay, so let's start off with this one. So this one's at negative 3, negative 4. So negative 3, negative 4, radius of 3. So this is A. This one is at negative 3, 4. So it's left and up, left and up. So this is C. This is at 3, 4, so to the right and up, same radius. So that would be B. And without looking, I know this guy over here is D, but let's just check. This is 3, negative 4, so to the right and down. To the right and down, it's right there. So this guy's going to be, let me erase that, that's confusing. This one's going to be the letter D. So that's your first page review of circles. Okay, for this one, the first thing they're asking is it a circle or is it a parabola? They want us to explain how we know and then to graph the conic section and label all of its important features. And then I have a reminder of what those features are here. Now when I take a look at this equation, the first thing I notice is that my x value is squared and my y value is squared. That means this has got to be a circle. Okay, so this is a circle, and that means I'm going to be using the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals my radius squared. So using that form, then I can say that my hk center is the opposite of what I see, so 5, negative 4. I can also say that my radius is the square root of 4, or 2. So using that information, I can go ahead and graph my circle. So it's going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Try my best to get a center point there. And my radius is 2, so I'll go out 2, up 2, left 2, and down 2. Down 2. Sorry, my points aren't turning out very well. And then when I connect those 4 points, I can make a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and label these. Let's use pink. So my radius is right there, and my center point is right there. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so down here for question 6, again they're asking is it a circle or parabola? And what I hope you noticed is that there is only one variable that's squared and the other is linear, so that's raised to the first power. So the first thing I want to do is I need to eliminate this 1/8. So I'm going to find what the reciprocal of that is. The reciprocal is 8 over 1, so I'm going to multiply everything by 8 over 1. So I'm going to have 8 over 1 times y minus 5 equals, and then I'm going to multiply 8 over 1 times 1 over 8 times x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, the reason why we do that is because when you multiply reciprocals, it equals 1. So that's going to make me super happy. That's going to eliminate that fraction. And what I end up getting is 8 times y minus 5 equals 1, which I don't have to write, x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and factor this side, and I'm asking myself what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4. That's positive 2 and positive 2, 2 positive 2's, so that's x plus 2 squared. Now I can answer this question like this. I wonder if you can, but I just want to point out that, if you don't like the way this looks, you could rewrite it x plus 2 squared equals, sorry, that looks yucky, equals 8 times y minus 5. And these equations are totally the same. But either way, I can still answer it. Let's go ahead and take this out. I'm going to answer it my way. So let's see, my vertex point is going to be hk, the opposite of what I see, so negative 2, comma 5. 4p equals 8. So if I divide by 4, I can find my p-value. My p-value is 2, and that's enough information for me to find all my important features. So let's start by going to the left 2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here's my vertex point. And at this point, I really need to ask myself, is this a upwards facing, downwards facing, leftward facing, or rightward facing parabola? So first, the x is squared. So if the x is squared, that means it's up or down. And since my a value is positive, that means it's a smile. So just a quick sketch of it means it's going to be upwards facing, and my focus will be above the vertex, and my directrix will be below it. So if I use my p-value of 2, if I take that 2, that means that if I go up 2, I can find my focus. So there's my focus point. And then if I go down 2 squares, I can find my directrix. Wow, that is really not a straight line, but you know where it's supposed to be, right? Okay, now I know that the absolute value of 2 times p will give me my focal, well, will give me the 2 points that are off of the focus. So 2 times 2 will be 4. So that means if from the focus I go to the right 4, I can find one of the points. And if I go to the left 4, I can find my other point. And then if I connect those together, let's see if I can do this. I'm trying. I did it. If I connect those together, then I have now all my features. Okay, so let's go ahead and write down what they are. So I haven't written down here what my focus is. So my focus is at the point negative 2, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And my directrix is at, it crosses the y-axis right here, so y equals 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those values on my graph. So my directrix is right there. My focus is right there. My key points, that says points, are here and here. And my vertex is right there. Okay, and that's your review for your test.